Great. And so I'm going to start just by giving a brief overview of kind of what the Institute program is, and then turn it over to our three alums to really share some of their past experience. And we'll have lots of time for your specific questions as well. So let me just open up and share my screen. Just a second. Okay. And okay. So the Farm to School Institute, which Mass Farm to School, we're a statewide organization working to increase local food sourcing and education in schools across Massachusetts. We have been offering the Institute for the past 3 or so years. We did not recruit a new cohort of schools this year, but have been working more with the alumni. But the prior 3 years had a cohort of about 8 schools each year participate. And this model was actually something that was initially developed by a partner organization in the farm school organization in Vermont, which is called Vermont Feed. And we've been really fortunate to work closely with them to adapt this model that they've been doing for about 10 years to bring it here to Massachusetts to work with school districts in our state. So the Institute is a year-long professional learning opportunity open to either individual schools or to whole school district teams from public schools across the state. And so for those who are participating in the Institute, the goal is really to support the development of a farm to school program. And you may have something a little bit in place already. You may be really early in the stages of this, but developing what we call really a farm to school action plan that bridges the classroom, community, and cafeteria environments. So a really holistic approach to promoting local food sourcing and education, and a lot of community engagement as well. The participating schools are paired with a coach who will work with you throughout the whole school year to support implementation of your farm to school plan. There's lots of networking opportunities with other schools that are participating in the Institute, as well as specific professional development opportunities, both for teachers or school educators, as well as for school nutrition staff. So just a quick timeline of kind of how we expect this to roll out. And I should say, you know, we've definitely been making some COVID adjustments, and we'll be just kind of continuing to assess the public health situation as we firm up plans. But typically in the past, the year has kicked off with an in-person 2-day retreat. This year, we are going to be switching that to a kind of still a big kickoff, but a hybrid, like virtual and in-person event. So this spring, we're asking schools to be really putting together your team that would be applying to participate in the Institute. We ask schools to put together an interdisciplinary team that includes school nutrition staff, educators, some administrator representation, and then you're also welcome to include other community partners. There might be an external organization that's really involved in your farm to school activities. There could be school families that are engaged, maybe a partner farm. So a team of 4 to 6 people if it's an individual school that's applying, or 5 to 7 people if it's a whole district that might be looking to participate. So putting together your team, we have a fairly streamlined application and that you would complete to apply to the Institute. And we have in past years had you know, many more schools apply than we've been able to actually accept. So we anticipate again being able to serve about 8 school districts this next That's next year. And again, it will kick off in the fall with a sort of hybrid retreat. One day that's virtual, and then a second day, hopefully, that we are able to do in person, where there's really some experiential kind of farm-based learning, as well as a lot of time to work specifically with your farm to school team and your coach. And then the team meets throughout the rest of the school year and is meeting also with the coach to be implementing the plan that they've developed together at that fall retreat. And then we close out with a gathering in the spring where the teams are able to share out more of what they've been up to that year. And there's more of that kind of like peer networking, and honestly just a celebration of everything that people have achieved over the year. So some kind of key dates for you guys to know about. The applications are due May 21st, and we'll have a really quick turnaround and let accepted teams know by June if they have been selected. We do have a program fee of $600 per school, or school, if it's the whole district, it's just $600 for the whole team. But we also don't want that to be a barrier to participation for school. So we have some scholarships available. If you anticipated that being a barrier, we would just invite you to contact us, and we could talk more about that. As I mentioned, that you're putting together either 4 to 6 people, or if you're a school, individual school, or 5 to 7 if you're a whole district that's applying, and a diversity of individuals from representing different aspects of the school should be part of that team. Let's see. Here's a few nice quotes of things that past participants have shared about the program. And one of the things that we really appreciate, and even though we won't be having quite the same retreat experience, multi-day, away from your school building kind of setting, having this kind of dedicated time to really focus with people that you may not often be able to connect with inside your school community, and really having like kind of no interruptions, time to connect, build relationships, and really think in an interdisciplinary way is one of the things that we regularly hear is what's so unique about this opportunity. So we really want to still be giving that space, even if it's going to look a little bit different next year than it may have in the past. And as I mentioned, Sharice's really helping lead up the planning for this effort. So if you've got additional questions, her email address is here, and you're welcome to contact her with any specific questions about the program itself, the application process, etc. And you can find further description of the program and a link to the application on our website, massfarmtoschool.org. You can go to Institute in our menu, or this is the direct link for full URL. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Oops. And oops, sorry about that. And I will open it up to some quick questions before turning it over to Sasha to share more about her experience.
So if we can ask questions,
Yeah,
I would. Thank you. I'm interested in what outcomes were like, if there are examples of what was produced from the plan, what the plan was and what was the result.
Yeah, so I will very briefly say there's incredible variability in that, in terms of whether a district is and where they're at in their sort of if they're already doing some farm to school activity or they're pretty new to it, where they get to by the end of the year. And some have, maybe they have really robust activity in the cafeteria, but not a lot happening in the classrooms. And so they come to the Institute with a goal of focusing a little bit more on the classroom environment, and they may have a lot more outcomes in that space. So let me hold off on giving you concrete examples because I think the 3 districts will do a better job of that than I would. But I would just say it does really vary. This is designed to be, there is not a specific program we're asking you to implement. The concept is you build your team, and in this space, you guys are identifying what are the goals that are most important to you, and then you're being supported to carry them out throughout the year. But school district goals will really vary district to district. Other questions?
Kasimka, I could keep asking.
Yeah, Nancy, if you want another question, do one more, and then I'll turn it over to Sasha.
Okay, so I'll make it an easy one. What kind of networking goes on of the groups that are selected during the year?
Yeah, great question. And some of this I think is still in development because it's actually one of the things that I hope we like take some COVID era learnings from and implement next year. There is the, at the Institute itself, like the sort of kickoff, there is time for typically for some like shared learning that wouldn't just happen with your team. So you're going to be doing that with other teams that are participating, and that might be a chance to also be meeting people with the same type of role in a different district. But one of the things that we implemented this year that I anticipate we will try to continue in some way next year is having sort of peer learning sessions for have been virtual for participants, and they're mostly they might have a sort of theme to them. So we've done one that's really much more focused on for school nutrition folks. We had one for educators that was a bit more focused on like how are you doing anything in a virtual setting, and mostly we provide facilitation in that setting, but it's much more an opportunity for participants to come together and just ask each other, like, how have you been dealing with this? Learn from one another. So that's something that I expect, we hadn't previously done. We started doing this year in the absence of our traditional program, and I think we'll continue in some form next year. So those have been about every other month or so. We're offering something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, you ready, Sasha? I will open up your slides. Whoops, sorry, wrong.
Thank you. All right, I know the question was asked, what are the end products? And I'm going to put myself out there, but I am the end product of that institution because I literally went to Amherst in 6-inch heels, and I left visiting farms, talking to farmers, and becoming a farm girl. I no longer wear 6-inch heels, so I am a product. But so a little background, I was with Amherst Regional Public Schools before I moved to Brookline, and that's where I got into the Institute. And as I said, I was brand new. I started in July, and then by I think August or September, I was at the Institute, just learning what farm to school and just what it was and what it could be, what could be done in the school district. So I was also new to Massachusetts, so I had no idea there were farms that had fresh, I keep using this because I hated tomatoes, and I walked on a farm and ate one, and that was such a huge difference, and what gave me that push and that drive to ensure that these quality products end up on our menu or in our menus every year. So I am currently with the Public Schools of Brookline, and being a product of the alumni of the Institute has given us the drive in Brookline. And so we had very few in the Brookline Public Schools. There was some farm to school program a few years before I came in. Then we switched to a food service management company. And when I got to Brookline, we had finally moved back in-house. But what I noticed coming in was that there were all these different programs that were farm to school, or programs that, if they were combined, or if there was a collective vision or drive, it would have been a beautiful farm to school program. So I will take you through what I experienced in Amherst, and then talk a little bit about Brookline farm to school initiatives. So one of the things that was very helpful for me, being new to the district, being new to Massachusetts, was finding a good team to be there. We went to the alumni. I barely knew their first names, but in the end, we left a cohesive unit. We left a unit. We left as a team striving for a common goal. So our team was made up of administrators or curriculum based staff in the district. We had the curriculum development coordinator, we had a science and garden coordinator, and we also had classroom teachers who were doing farm to school activities with their kids. For I break them down. The cafeteria, we had myself, and we had someone from UMass Higher Education who was doing sustainability and into farm and into school cafeteria. So that was helpful. And then we had community members. We had one community member who was a farmer. We had a community member who was a parent and also doing dual role. He was also a sustainability 4-H something, which tied beautifully into farm to school. But I think that made up, our team was made up of that diverse group, that diverse voices, which is very important in farm to school. So what was our efforts before? Before I got there, we had we had just gotten a USDA planning grant. And that kind of became the backdrop of what, to the focus that we were going to be focusing on when we went to the Institute. They had an established garden program going on. They were teaching garden education from kindergarten to, I think we were at first grade or moving into second grade. The previous director had started a buy local initiative. So we were trying to procure and buy locally. And we had also have menu planning consideration, putting local items, and with a focus of diversity to our menu. That, and later on, when we got to the Institute, we realized that should always be the backdrop, having diversity in everything that we do. So as I said, they had an established garden program, beautiful garden teacher, garden specialist, a farmer who was already there. And then we had this great partnership with Project Bread, who was always lending us their chef to create those lovely items that the kids grow in the garden, transition it to our menus. And we continue to buy local. And that Chef Sam who helped us, these are all from our school gardens. We find a way to incorporate them in our menu. One of the best things that we created was a green monster pizza that is made from pesto sauce that's made from items from our garden. That's the pesto. And one of the things we continue to do is have tasting and testing of these items. We think that we encourage students participated in the garden program to participate in the tasting and testing of items before we put them on our menus. And that's what they were doing. So how did the Institute help us in Amherst to develop our farm to school. As I said, there were things that were happening, but when we got to the Institute, it gave us a focus. We started focusing on what exactly we can achieve. So we quickly look and assess what we already have. And then we started setting those goals as, okay, this is attainable. This I can achieve within a year based on what the resources that we had. And because we were planning, we were in a planning grant, USDA planning grant, we were also planning with a focus of someday getting an implementation grant from USDA. So that kind of helped guide us to some of our action or goals. We developed an action plan, and I literally call that action plan my farm to school Bible, because it's very important. From time to time, we would refer back to it and set our mini goals in the cafeteria, in the curriculum, and in the community through this action plan. So it's very important to develop a good workable action plan when you get to that stage. We also, at that point, and as I said, I was new. I didn't know there were so many farms in Amherst, but having everybody come together, we looked at what are the possibilities. Where can we find partners? Where can we find, who are our stakeholders? We identified a number of farms who were interested in partnering with us. So that was helping in fishing out some of those. Some people or some places that we didn't even consider became an option, or we started thinking about them and the ways in which we could partner with them. And the best of all, build a diverse team, because we had so many different voices, which was helpful, and just engage the stakeholders in the community. I'm almost done. The most impactful is my Bible, the action plan, and the connections that we made with not just internally in the schools, the connection we made with farmers, with other alumni or other participants in the program. That was very helpful to me. All right, tips, and I've been stressing, make a good action plan, have a great team, and set attainable goals, have dialogue or continuous dialogue with the stakeholders. We were having meetings once per month with the 3 different groups, community, curriculum, and even though they were meeting individually in their smaller groups, we all got together as a team, a complete team, to start plan and assess where we are in our planning or where we are in achieving our goals. And seek help from our experts. One thing I realize is that any crazy thing that I think about to do in farm to school, somebody has already thought about it. I really thought I was crazy, but there are other people crazier than me. So, and then learn from others. I reach out to people everywhere just to get ideas. I think that's it. Would I ever participate again? Yes, I'm going to try to take Brookline because they need it. So yeah, that's it. We at Brookline have a number of things. I just wanted to say this quickly. We have a number of initiatives happening, but we are not a cohesive unit, and we're not striving towards the same goal at this point. And that is something that I think the Institute can help to streamline all the different things that are happening in your district. All right. I may have gone over 5 minutes, but I'm
Thanks so much, Sasha. That was great. Any quick questions for Sasha before I turn it over to Elizabeth to talk about Watertown? Okay, go for it, Elizabeth.
Hey everyone, I'm Elizabeth Kaplan, and I don't have Sasha style slides, but I do have a lot to say, and I have some pictures to show you. So I'm going to share my screen if I can do that.
Oh yeah, let me. Let's see.
And I can talk while she allows a little arrow on the share screen on the bottom. Multiple participants, it should say.
Okay, I think I just changed it to.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
So I am the, I'm on a different laptop. I am the K-8 math science coordinator in Watertown Public Schools. Before that, I was a school principal for 5 years, and I started school gardens many years, so 10 years ago, at the elementary school I was in, and with a bunch of community members at my school. And then we grew the school garden program to include all the elementary schools. We've funded this solely through grants, but we actually got a school garden coordinator. So at the Institute, we came in with a pretty well established school garden program, and there was a lot of things happening in the community, and we had a lot of the classroom piece happening. And then our cafeteria food service director had a lot going on, but we hadn't all come together. So this is our team at the Institute. So we have our food service director, myself as an administrator, 2 teachers, our garden coordinator, and a community member who's in charge of Healthy Watertown. That includes our farmers market, and she's also a Watertown parent. So this is our team. And what happened for us at the Institute was we learned a lot. We connected with our coach, who I found to be, one of the best things about the Institute was our coach, Hope. We've had members go out to see her gardens, go out to her house. She's come out to us. We have done a lot with her. We've stayed in touch with her. So, my one piece of advice is to really use your coach for that year that you have them, because she has been a tremendous resource for us. So in terms of our action plan, like Sasha said, it really has become our Bible or our guiding force. I think of it as, I think we have another school administrator here. It's almost like our school improvement plan for our farm to school program. And so what we did was we wrote cafeteria, community, and classroom goals based on where we were at. And it resulted in us achieving a lot. But again, we were we kind of had a well-established school garden program, and you don't have to go to this institute. What it meant was it just moved us forward in ways that I never thought we would move forward before. We focused quite a bit. We have a lot of goals around our marketing and kind of our PR plan and the sustainability of our farm to school program, because we've had this program, but really the Institute as well as our coach have helped us think about how can we make this a sustainable program. And in the past, I had felt like, oh, is this sustainable? It's just me running it. And you can't rely on one person. And it's my garden coordinator who wants to retire and be with her grandchildren. And I funded only on grants. So we really got a lot out of how to make it sustainable. Our action plan has goals in all areas, but I think what's important is we are no longer in silos. So our food service director, what I noticed about the Institute is there were a lot of school nutrition professionals there, and we had thought we were just going about our school gardens, but what resulted in is a really great cohesive partnership with our school nutrition program. So this is kind of our pandemic. Are some pictures. We have so many amazing pictures of our gardens, but this is what we were able to accomplish during a pandemic through our farm to school team. Our students, the few that were back in the fall, got our gardens ready and did some cleanup and composting. We had community members install sinks and COVID safe gardening guidelines in our garden. We sent seeds home during the absolute shutdown to all students that are tied directly to the curriculum, what they were learning. So we handed those out with our school lunch program. And, here's a picture of our student growing what we gave him at home. So we've never, I feel like I always worried, my role is large, math, being in charge of math, it takes up a lot of my time. And I always worry, because this is my most favorite thing about my work, that it would fall off or something, or it would fizzle. And what the Farm to School Institute was kind of ignited new light and life in our program. And it's kind of, our superintendent is really on board with it. And now we're building 3 new elementary schools, and our farm to school team has been involved with the architects. And I'm not sure we would have had this momentum going with everything going on if we hadn't had our action plan and used our coach so well and gone to the Institute. So I would, particularly if, any school administrators interested in this want to talk to me more about that end, particularly the ties to the curriculum, I would love to do that. But it really has propelled us forward when we've had this program running for 10 years, and it's something I was worried about. And now I feel like we've got a plan, and we have goals. We do revisit our action plan all the time. And we did revisit it in February of this year. And I think people were like, we haven't seen each other for a while with everything going on. Let's take a look. And we were like, wow, we've accomplished a lot. And there are things we haven't been able to start yet. And there are things we wanted to add on. We've also kind of started to expand to the middle school and brought on a high school farm to school member recently. And that's something that our coach kind of helped us think through how to kind of grow this up to the middle school and high school, which was great. But again, it just was an amazing experience. It's one of my favorite parts of my job is the farm to school program.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. Any quick
gosh.
questions for Elizabeth before Rob has a chance to share? Okay, go for it, Rob.
Great. Well, hey, thanks for having me. And just to build on the amazing things that are happening both at Watertown and with Elizabeth's program. In New Bedford, I got here a few years ago, and really there was no farm to school initiatives tied to anything. There was one school, there's 25 sites, the schools that we have in the district. Only one school had a working garden with a really dedicated faculty person who was doing that by herself. So this really took us, myself, thinking about it, because I'm really in tune with, I did, the produce of the month, farmer of the month and so forth. And now I was in the district before I got here. And I really was excited to try to do that. I had some grow gardens in Wareham when I was in district there before inside the cafeteria, which were awesome. The kids loved it. So I was trying to find out, how do I do it in a district that's 5 times the size of where I was, and nothing had been started. And it seemed kind of a daunting task, me alone, with 25 sites and 14,000 students, and people looking at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, farm to school and, gardens. And so it took a year really to develop a relationship. And so when I went out and I found a partner, a nonprofit, outside of the district that had a lot of information about curriculum and trying to do programs in schools that have to do with nutrition, fresh fruit and vegetables. I got something with the state, to run that program a few years ago, to do that in some of the elementary schools as a pilot, just to start out and sort of get folks acclimated and the kids acclimated to this sort of new way of eating and looking at how we look at food and so forth. And it worked out very well. Because what I think is really important with the Institute is you don't have to go there, having a lot of plans in place. You can go there if you have a lot of plans in place, but in our case, I think having like the way that it's set up, if you're one school, you need to have at least 4 people, 4 to 6 people. If you're a district, 5 to 7 people going there is perfect. A mix of different areas. We brought 6 people with us, community members, educators, food service director, myself, and so forth. And then if you could find another partner out there that has to do with the farmers, that was key. Because then when we looked at the action plan, it sort of identified each person's sort of area of expertise to go on and to sort of take control of that and then working together, so it's because you can't do it by yourself. It's just, it wouldn't happen that way. You have to make sure you get more people involved, because it has to be sustainable. So that's the whole thing I was saying. So if I hit the lottery tomorrow, someone else can pick it up and keep going, so and so because of that, we went to the Farm School Institute. We met a lot of great people there. All the activities were wonderful. Simca's helped us after we left, we had a coach for the year after that. And then, the pandemic came on, we still kept things going in terms of trying to meet with people and just communicate and go through the action plan and try to get some things happening. Simca was very accommodating to help out in a few meetings to get us, kind of, wiggle out of some spaces that we weren't sure about what to do with, which was great. And, it's just, they're vested into that, and it gives you a sense of like, you can do it. We're going to tie it to our wellness policy. Another thing that, has some meat behind it, because every year you have to review that, so if you can tie that to it. It's opened up all kinds of things where, we had one garden at one school. Now we're building 15 gardens at 14 other schools. I'm not doing it. but the group of people that we have are now branching out. Now we're adding subcommittees to our regular meetings that we have once a month, and other folks getting involved. So, that it seems kind of daunting in the beginning, but once you go about the process, it'll grow, no pun intended. You know what I mean? So that's just, I think how it will work. And I love it, and if you're the person who's really a strong believer and you can find a few folks like you that are strong believers, then you'll be fine. Everyone else will sort of pick it up for you. But I think definitely team members are important. Action plan is important. DESE is now backing a department or a person at DESE to help with some of the farm to school initiatives. Simca's involved at the State House to get more grants and so forth. Sorry about that. So it's just, there's a lot happening in this, and it's a great opportunity to get in and really benefit from all the things that will happen in your district for the students and the community.
Great, thanks so much, Rob. So I just want to open it up now for any questions people have for us about the program, the application process, or for any of the alumni.
I have a question about the community partners and the farmers. Can you just speak a little bit more to that? So you're growing gardens at school, and is their role to come in and help support that process?
We partnered, our food service director partnered with farmers to bring in more local produce. They had some goals around that. But we also, on the community side, like we do our gardening ourselves, our students do it, but we are actually having like farmers visit classrooms and do lessons like that and kind of partner with them that way as well. That was in our goal, and we're doing that as well. We're actually having some farmers from our farmers market do a partnership with our schools with some grade levels.
Yeah, so it looks really different, again, with different schools in terms of like what their goals are. If the goals are largely around procurement, they may be, developing farm relationships to help them buy more local food, but we are also seeing those partnerships that are tied into education as well.
And if you're looking to start, the best thing to do would be to find some local farms and then find out if they have like a food policy council, or do all the farmers meet as a group? And I went to one of their meetings, that they meet, every so often, and then just talked about, hey, I'm a school, I'd like to do some stuff, what do you plant? What's the process? And just kept asking questions. And then that's how I got kind of tied in with bringing those folks in. And then we end up, I think, right before COVID, we had a visit to a farm in that fall of 2019. We brought a classroom to a farm, and just to get out there to see. And we're still trying to procure, local stuff through our bidding process. But it just takes time. But I think if you definitely go out and see who your local farmers are, and if they are part of a group, then just see if you can go to those meetings and so forth, and just try to get some information.
And Robin, your district also didn't a local farm host a teacher PD also, I think, like some kind of professional development for teachers over even this summer, like mid-COVID, they managed to do that, but they did it outdoors at a local farm.
Yeah, so I think once you get the conversation going and you start, trying to just get some things in play and talk about what you want to do, you'll find some people, and then it'll just, like you said, it'll start branching off, and people will be doing stuff, and then you can just tie it back. I mean, it'll work.
Any other questions? Well, so a reminder, the application isn't due until May 21st. You can find it on our website, but I would encourage you to, if you're thinking about applying, take a look at it. So if you've got questions about the application process, you can definitely reach out to us, and we're happy to talk more about the application. If you're wondering like who you should put on your team, happy to help in any way as you're considering whether it's a good fit for your school. And we do ask that if you are applying as a whole district, especially if you're a larger district, maybe particularly relevant for you, Nancy, that you think about like one or two schools that you might try to focus on a little bit more. So that there can be a little bit when you're setting goals and, some things particularly around, food service might be easier to implement at a district level. And some other things may really happen more at the school level. So to try and identify kind of a lead school or two that are going to be kind of the focus of your effort if you are doing that sort of district-wide application. Great. And Teresa also just put in a link for the more info, the application. So encourage you to check that out and be in touch if you've got any questions. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today for the info session.
Thank you.
To our alums too for sharing your experience.
That was great. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
That was really
Thank you.
here.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.